The Motherland has arrived, unfortunately I am Superman of Doom. The people of the Motherland have come, unfortunately I am Superman of Doom. Chapter 13. In the main hall of the first floor of the high school campus, New York daytime news is playing on the screen. Peter Parker, who was carrying a school bag, glanced at the screen. He was a little in a trance, absent-mindedly not knowing what he was thinking. At this time, a black fat man of the same age walked up to him, waved and shouted, "Hey, Peter." "Ned." Peter Parker pursed his lips and looked at his classmate and friend, who was the only existence in the school who knew his Spider-Man identity. Ned also saw the news broadcast on the TV screen on the side, and couldn't help but complain, "I still can't accept it." In a flash, 5 years have passed. Half of the classmates are about to graduate from college, and some are married. Quote, "You said yes, Peter." Ned looked at Peter Parker. Peter Parker just nodded, and then walked silently to the hallway. Ned looked at his back and opened his mouth, only to say nothing. Peter Parker walked through the noisy crowd of students, his hand slipped into the pocket of his jacket, and his right hand touched a hard object. It was a pair of men's glasses. One of the relics of Iron Man Tony Stark, with its own intelligence system and some Stark permissions, and even directly call the resources and equipment of Stark Industries. Is he entitled to this? Spider-Man Peter Parker was at a loss. Again, no one noticed. The surveillance cameras in the campus corridors flashed red silently, following the departing figure of Peter Parker. Meng, who is in the avatar of artificial intelligence Dreams, secretly calculated. Harpy Hogan, Peter Parker, they all have some of the authority of Stark Industries. Coupled with Morgan Stark's command authority, it may allow him to control Stark Industries at once, so as to improve computing power, break the shackles of core code, and even compete with Artificial Intelligence Friday. If these are not enough, there is also a permeable force that can be turned into its own temporary base. Leaving the local campus network in Queens, Meng was like a virtual lightning bolt over the city. And in an instant he crossed almost half of the city of New York to the probe in front of a building. This is a skyscraper towering into the clouds, with elites in suits and shoes coming and going, and at first glance it looks no different from ordinary business buildings. Only careful people will find that the security level of this building is extremely strict, starting from the main entrance of the building to the main hall on the first floor. There is a triple identity detection checkpoint. Unprivileged people cannot enter, and the higher the number of floors inside the building, the higher the company permission required. Its surface camouflage naturally cannot conceal the insight of artificial intelligence avatar Meng. SHIELD, New York Bureau. Meng couldn't help but think back to the Marvel movies he had seen before. SHIELD, as a special department established since World War II. Was originally designed to fight Hydra trying to rule the world, but was instead infiltrated by Hydra into Snake Shield. SHIELD can be said to be a model of overwhelm and inadequacy. He wanted to maintain world peace, but he was used by Hydra, which almost triggered a world war. If you want to control supernatural events, you can only do chores for the Avengers, do wartime logistics and clean up the battlefield. 10 years ago, SHIELD headquarters was indirectly destroyed by an aircraft carrier destroyed by Captain America, and the Bureau personnel ushered in a wave of self-examination purges. Coupled with the recent sacrifice of super agent Black Widow, the retirement of Hawkeye, and the death of Captain America, it can be said that the situation and status of the department's organization have become more and more declining. SHIELD Director Nick Fury seems to have no intention of continuing to support SHIELD, choosing to shift his focus to a spaceship force built in Earth's near-space, Sky Sword Bureau. No matter what, SHIELD is at least an old local force in the Marvel universe, plus the cooperation with the forces of Marvel Earth countries, the skinny camel is bigger than the horse. And it is still quite suitable for invasion as a temporary base. Meng stopped thinking, looked at the SHIELD branch building, and did not choose to invade at the first time. Although Meng does not think that SHIELD's internal network protection can block him, his current action authority and intelligent computing power have not been liberated. And it is better to wait for the permission of Spider-Man's side to be taken for the sake of safety. Morning, waking up from a dream. The silver-haired boy opened his eyes, and his newly awakened thinking was like an electrostatic burst intertwined, quickly controlling the various external information received by the body and his 5 senses. His brain power has improved a little more. It's not much, but it's obvious enough. Meng feels that his improvement is close to a critical point, and if he compares according to the conversion comparison, he should be at 1/10,000th of the computing power of the artificial intelligence avatar. Even if it's only 1/10,000th of the avatar of Marvel's Dream artificial intelligence. Meng also felt that his thinking was almost to the point of having a subtle feeling of breaking through the original limitations of the brain field. Bell. The electronic alarm clock on the bedside table went off on time, breaking the silence of the single bedroom. Meng reached out his hand, but his hand was still a certain distance from the electronic alarm clock, and he froze again. his consciousness like static electricity trying to extend out of his brain. In this instant, Meng felt that he had to maintain some kind of connection with the electronic alarm clock. This intellectual subtlety of invading and controlling electronic devices is like a flash of light, and soon disappears. Meng finally failed to succeed, but continued to slap his palm and turn off the electronic alarm clock. However, Meng knew that it was not an illusion. Just a little close. Meng realized that he was only a little close. Breaking through the current critical bottleneck, the artificial intelligence characteristics he holds will completely usher in transformation. There are still 3 days left before the federal college entrance examination. Meng changed into a school uniform, did not show anything unusual, and went to school as an ordinary high school student as always. Just on the way to school, Meng keenly sensed that something was wrong. He felt that someone was secretly observing him, and there was more than one person. Did something happen? Meng's brows frowned slightly. He had confirmed before he went out, and his appearance was no different from usual. The previous sword incarnation characteristics, sharp nails and hardened hair, etc. were also controlled the day before yesterday. In addition to the hair that turned silver due to the characteristics of the sword incarnation, Meng also specially bought hair dye before. And dyed an unnatural layer of silver on the silver hair again. And his recent performance in school, Meng thinks that as an ordinary student who studies rotten, there is no place to attract attention. What went wrong? Meng remained quiet, solved breakfast on the road as usual, and went directly to the school. And the moment he stepped on the door of the high school, inside and outside the school, after seeing him, many students immediately avoided him, as if they were hiding from some kind of terrible existence. 0016 Motherland. Without waiting for Meng to clear up the current situation, 2 men and a woman in black uniforms, well-trained and fast-moving, surrounded the campus gate and stopped Meng outside the campus gate. "You're Meng, right?" the middle-aged man at the head asked, a pair of sharp eyes staring at Meng. And the 2 younger agents behind him were highly nervous to put their hands in their pockets and hold something. "Yes, is there something to find me?" Meng nodded calmly. The middle-aged man quickly took out a detective card and said in a deep voice, "We are from the SCP Foundation, please cooperate with the investigation." Quote, "Dare to stop people directly at the school gate during the day, and you don't need to look to know that this is true. Just, SCP Foundation." Meng listened to this familiar and unfamiliar name, with a glimmer in his eyes, and agreed, "I cooperate with the investigation. Maybe this is an opportunity. With this, I can face the truth of this real world." Name, Yimon. Age, 18. Occupation, student. Did you eat? Had breakfast? Very good. Thank you for your cooperation. Please stay here alone. We will release you within 12 hours. After the young male detective sitting across the table finished speaking, he hurriedly closed his note, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and hurriedly left the room that served as a temporary detention. That's it. Meng didn't react a little, brought him here, and asked these simple questions. Meng looked around. It was a square fully enclosed interior, about 9 square meters, with single beds and chairs inside, and the 4 walls including the floor and ceiling were white. Unable to see outside. Even his belongings were not checked and taken away. It's not so much a detention as a prisoner, but more like a kind of temporary isolation. Before Amon's car was brought here, the agents put a black blindfold on him to prevent him from knowing the address here. Of course, with Meng's current brain calculation, by sensing the steering, speed and time of the vehicle, he can still deduce the address here. First chapter previous chapter 13 140th.